I hated this place. I truly thought it was disgusting. I thought it was dirty. I thought everyone stinks. Everyone smokes. I couldn't find anything to eat. I hated it here. These one-way streets, like, it's fucking counterproductive. What the is that?
Hey everybody, I am Kenya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So the day I'm posting this will be February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to y'all. So this video will be about my experience solo traveling to Paris, France as a black woman. Okay, so I've been seeing a plethora of videos come up on my FYP on TikTok. Yes, I spend a lot of time over on TikTok, and they are Americans in Paris, France, and they are not having a good time. It depends on where you are from in the United States that would determine if you would have a good time in Paris, France. And I'm sorry, if you're from somewhere like Tokyo, Japan, or you know, China, where y'all are already in the year 3000, where everything is super clean and pristine and advanced, when you get to Paris, you might be clutching your pearls. You might be like, what is this? What is this? But I am from the Northeast, and the Northeast, it's very gritty over here. I am from Dirty Jersey to be exact, and I work in New York City. So when I got to Paris, France, it was like New York City 2.0, but cleaner. Did I see graffiti in Paris? I did. Did I see homeless people in Paris? I did. Did I see rodents in Paris? Yes, I did, okay? Now, I feel like I saw graffiti on my way from the airport and going back to the airport. Like, there was just graffiti on the walls of the highway, just like it is in the US. Did I see homeless people? When I tell you the amount of homeless people I saw in Paris was insane. I remember walking down the street. There was homeless people, tents, just sleeping bags. And it's like, I'm so used to seeing homeless people in New York City and in New Jersey that as I'm walking down the street, I didn't even pay attention to it. I'm just walking. And then I saw these two little kids, about 6 and 7. They like ran out into the middle of the sidewalk as I'm walking. And I remember stopping because like they just started running out right in front of me, and I was confused. And that's when it dawned onto me that I was walking down a street with nothing but homeless people on both sides. And I was confused because like in the US we have homeless people, but you rarely see homeless children on the streets, especially where I live. Like, you rarely see like small children on the streets. So I look to my left and I see the mom sitting on like a chair, like a folding chair, and she is heavily pregnant. She has a suitcase, and then she has like a cardboard down where her kids were like playing on. I was like, yo. And so then I did this cruise. It was like along the St. Martin Canal, and it was at night. And along like the canal banks, and it was so weird how like the regular population was like immersed in with like the homeless population. You would see homeless tent, then you would see a couple having cheese and wine on the charcuterie board, then you see another group of friends on this side, then you see a homeless person, another homeless person, a homeless person, then normal people. Like, it was insane the amount of homeless people. The only thing I could say is the homeless people in Paris did look a little cleaner than the ones in New York City, and they were calmer, because I feel like a lot of the homeless I see in New York City and in New Jersey are like, they have mental issues, and so they're like a lot dangerous, and like you just want to stay away from them. And I saw a homeless like Asian person. Like, I don't know if this person was Chinese, Korean, Japanese, but I don't see like homeless Asian people in the US. I just don't. And so I saw a homeless Asian man, and I was confused. Like, it's not funny, but like, it's just something I've never seen. Like, there was this thing where people said they never seen pregnant Asian women. I've never seen a homeless Asian man. So yes, the homeless population is crazy. So if you're from some little small town that's all suburban and cute, and you go to Paris, you might be feeling like you in danger. You know what I'm saying? Did I see rodents? Yes, when I was at the train station, I did see like rodents, but they weren't like the New York City rats. Like, they were like little small Stuart Little Ratatouille like mice in the train station. And Paris is a major city. You have to keep that in mind when you go. For me, when I got to Paris, I did enjoy my time there because I am someone who loves art. I love art. You know, my goal was when I go to Paris, I'm going to go and see the Mona Lisa painting. I need to see it in person, you know. I want to go to the museum. I want to immerse myself in the culture. And one thing I could say about Paris is that the sculptures, the architecture of old Paris, it's amazing to me. Like, I love to take pictures of just buildings. Like, this is what I do personally. If I see like a church, I have to take a photo of it. I have to get a video of it. Just beautiful architecture. I love to just take videos of it. I was just appreciating the city, you know, the way the city was built. You get what I'm saying? At night, you're gonna hear a whole, it's like New York City, sirens, just sirens, especially on the main streets. It's just gonna be sirens. That's all you're gonna hear. Police cars, ambulance, sirens. But their sirens aren't as annoying as ours in our fire trucks and police cars. Ugh. Now, as far as our Parisians route, now when I first got to the airport, I was waiting online for a taxi, and when it got up to my turn, the man who was like coordinating the taxi rides, he was like telling people like go. I was not paying attention. My attention span is this big, so I'm staring into space, and a man walked up to me and he yells at me in English, "Hello, pay attention." And I'm just like, okay. But honestly, to me, that was just some regular New York City shit. I wasn't paying attention and he had to come yell. So I wasn't offended by that. I did see a video of an Asian girl and she wasn't having a good time in Paris. She was saying that if you don't speak French, they were looking at her like she was stupid. And then as I ventured into the comments on TikTok, I hear that there's a lot of racism against Asians in Paris.
I don't know, it just makes me feel stupid, you know, like why do I want to travel here? I don't know how I feel about this. I'm just filming this video here in Lyon, France. It's my first time visiting. To be honest, the experience is very isolating. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful city. Has a lot to do and see and to discover, but I don't recommend for solo traveler or people or someone who doesn't speak French, because it's a very isolating experience. People here, they seem very indifferent. I had no problem meeting people and socializing in general in Italy or even in Germany. People tend to be colder, but I had no problem whatsoever because I'm a very social person. But in France, the experience is very different. I feel very isolated. It's just, yeah, people make you feel bad for not knowing their culture or speaking their language. Haven't really met anybody in here. I've been here for 5-6 days now. I almost feel stupid for coming here, spending money. I even bought a French hat. You know, I'm here to learn, to explore. But the experience is just, I don't know. I don't really like it.
You know, looked at some Asian people who were working in Paris, visiting Paris, or went to school in Paris, and they were describing like how the French feel like Asians are uneducated, they're stupid, like that they are there to be a masseuse or just having low skilled level jobs. That's how they view them. And it was interesting to see like another perspective from a different culture and how their experience is. But for me, my experience with the French, I feel like when the French looked at me, they could automatically tell that I was a Black American. They could automatically tell that out of all the Black people in the diaspora and the continent, they could look at me and tell that I was American. And I feel like it was mostly because of the way I was dressed. I was dressed very much preppy. I dressed a lot preppy a lot of the time. Very much Ralph Lauren polo shirts. Also, on the days I wasn't dressed preppy, I was dressed very much graphic tee, cargo pants, Nike Dunk. It was giving, you're from New York City. I'm from New Jersey, but it's close. I live close to New York City. And so I feel like when people saw me, they knew I was a Black American. And so I didn't speak French at all. Anytime I spoke to the French when they were, you know, bonjour, bienvenue, however the word goes, don't flame me in the comments, I'm sorry. I feel like anytime I walked into a restaurant and I spoke English, that person would try their best to speak English back to me, or they would find somebody else that spoke English to me. My personal experience is that nobody ever acted like, because I didn't speak French, that they didn't want to talk to me, so that they ignored me. But that's my personal experience, and I don't want to be one of those people where it's like, oh, that wasn't my experience. Like, I just may be an outlier. That's their, and I do believe anybody else who says when they went to Paris, people looked at them crazy because they didn't speak French. Like, English is a universal language. Everybody knows English. In my opinion, English is a default language. Everybody has their own native language that they speak, but I feel like English is the language that everybody speaks to communicate with other people. So everybody speaks English, in my opinion. It might not be that great of English, but people can understand English. I used to be a flight attendant, if you guys didn't know, and so I feel like I have one of those personalities where I am easy to speak to. I know how to start conversations with people. So if you are solo traveling, like, just being able to just talk to different people is just what you're going to have to do. And there's so many solo travelers in Paris, France, and I feel like when I went to Paris, I went the first week of September, and it was pretty hot. And so because I went the first week of September, when you go to the Eiffel Tower, there's more people just milling around at the Eiffel Tower. Like, there's a higher chance to be able to meet other people because it's a warmer weather. However, if it's colder, people are not going to be outside just milling around. They're going to be inside, you get what I'm saying? And so I ran into a lot of solo travelers that were from the US. I ran into a girl from South Africa. I believe she was Dutch though. We talked a lot, like, we had great conversation, but like I said, I really feel like it's because when people realized that I was a Black American, it was like, oh, I'm intrigued, like, they wanted to talk to me. I went to this taco restaurant, and the girl who was serving me, her English wasn't that good, but I was like, where do I go to the club? And she's like, Afro beats. And I'm like, well, yeah, Afro beats. I could go, we could do some Afro beats. So I give her my phone, and she's typing in the notes like all these different clubs to go to. It's so funny, I went to the cruise at night on the Saint Martin Canal, and I walk up and the girl is greeting. She's like, bonjour, bienvenue, bonjour. She's speaking French, and she gets to me. And I don't know how these people knew, but I'm sitting there with a burrito in my hand and a slushie. And maybe that's not a Parisian thing that you be walking around just eating. And then she was like, yeah, she ain't one of us. So she looks at me and she goes, oh, she speaks English, like that. And so then the boat captain comes out, and he's like Nigerian and from another African country, but he spoke complete perfect English, okay? He's like, oh, where you from? You from the US? I'm like, yeah, how'd you know? Well, I could tell. He's like, are you from New York City? I'm like, from New Jersey, but close enough or whatever. And we were like just talking whatever. He's like, yo, what you doing after this? Because he's about to get off. He was like, yo, you want to go to the club? And I'm like, I gotta get home and go get dressed. He's like, you can go how you were dressed. So we were talking, and he's like, what do you want to hear? And I'm like, some hip hop and some R&B. He's like, oh, you like Afro beats? So he tells me about this club called Club Oz, which I go to. And when they say Afro beats, they really mean like hip hop and R&B and like house music. Because I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna hear some Thames when I get there. They gonna put on some Diamond. I'm gonna hear some Burna Boy, you know, some Shatta Walla, or I think that's how you say his name. I'm thinking I'm gonna really hear some Afro beats. It was all just hip hop, R&B, and house music. And everybody is just singing all the songs and dancing to the max. And I'm just like, okay, so the club is like all English music, okay? Hip hop, R&B, all the stuff we listen to in the US. That's what the club was. And the club was a vibe. Like, it was like overlooking the Saint Martin Canal. Like, it was like, to me, I liked it. You know, I hadn't been into a club in a long time. I'm a little up there in age, you know. I don't be going to clubs anymore, but I like this sort of vibe. It was like a loungy, laid back. It was good. And I met some girls that were from Senegal, and they were beautiful girls. They were just out partying, having a good old time. We were talking or whatever. This came up, and so she's like, where you're from? I said, the US. She said, where? I said, New Jersey. She was like, but where? I was like, the US. And then she looks at me and she seriously is like, you don't know where you're from?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Now, obviously, I am of African descent. but my people have been in the US before the US was called the US. I'm on vacation, I'm in the club, I'm in Paris. I don't want to go down. Have you ever heard about slavery? Like, I don't want to talk about that. So I just was like, yeah, I'm from the US. I just left it at that. But she was totally befuddled and confused. And I just feel like it's too much information out here in the world for people to not know why a Black American is a Black American. But when you're a Black American, it's always like, how? Why? But anywho, sorry for going off in that little small tangent and rant. But like, me meeting people in Paris was just, it was easy. I'm just gonna be honest. I really enjoyed myself. I would go back to Paris. I think I would go to the Palace of Versailles for like a couple of days and do the whole tour, because I didn't have a chance to do that. And I would go to take a flight to like the south of France, like Saint-Tropez next time, and just spend the rest of my time there. Also, the food in Paris, when I tell you, I think I lost like 5 pounds in Paris. The food was Now the breakfast food was good. I had the KFC was bumping, okay? The McDonald's, I went to McDonald's. The McDonald's was good too. It was a little different from the McDonald's in the US. But when I tell you, I went to a restaurant and was like, I want a fruit salad. Why was the fruit salad messed up? How do you mess up a fruit salad? I went to a taco spot. I'm like, all right, you can't mess up a taco. Why was the tacos messed up? I went to the pizza spot. Why was the pizza not good? I must have wasted 100 euros on just terrible food. There was like a lot of ethnic restaurants in the neighborhood I stayed in. If it's a halal restaurant, you don't see no Arabs in the back making food, leave. When I went to the taco spot, I knew I was wrong. If I ain't see no Mexicans in the kitchen, I should have just left. There was no Italians making the pizza. I had no business trying to get pizza at this spot. But I was thinking, you know what? It can't be hard to make a pizza. I be making pizzas at home. You know, you get the pizza sauce, the cheese. You can't mess up a pizza. I was dead ass wrong. And one thing about Paris, I noticed the restaurants, a lot of the outdoor restaurants, is, you know how in the US our tables are spaced a good distance because we enjoy our personal space. In the US, no. In Paris, I was sitting right next to Monsieur Jean, okay? Yeah, so as far as food, like, yeah, I was famished. I was hungry. Everybody talks about the coffee in Paris, the cafes and the why I couldn't find a good cup of coffee. When I got home, I made me a good cup of Cafe Bustelo coffee, okay? And also, it was so hot. Every time I went to like a cafe, I would say I want like a soda. They would give me like these little cans of soda, and it was always room temperature. Only when I went into like certain stores or like grocery stores, I can get like a can of cold soda or juice. But I feel like in New Orleans, if you've ever been to New Orleans, and the people always say, I want a cold drink when they want like a soda. I feel like they say cold drink because I feel like the French just drink their drinks at room temperature. And New Orleans is hot, it's humid. No, give me a cold drink. They had to differentiate. Don't give me just a drink. I want a cold drink, okay? So if you go into the Louvre Museum, I bought a pass from a website called Get Your Guide, where you could buy like excursions or different activities. And one of the tickets I bought is where I went over to the Louvre and I went with a tour guide. They pair you up in groups depending on what language you speak. If you speak French, Spanish, English. So they put me in an English speaking group, and a tour guide brought us straight into the museum. We didn't have to wait on that 3-hour line, and she brought us straight up into the room where the Mona Lisa was. And then we just went our separate ways. So try to go to like getyourguide.com and get you a ticket and get it with like a tour, like a guided tour. And they'll bring you straight into the museum and then bring you right up to the room where the Mona Lisa is. The painting is like so small when you see it, and that's how you avoid that 3-hour line. Okay, that's how I avoided it. And I just walked around the museum. And one thing, I love art, I love painting, but yo, the paintings like during that certain period of like Europe, like they were so sad. Like, I was just getting so sad looking at the painting. Everything was just like despair, and everybody just looking sad, and just, I'm like, I gotta get off this museum. Then they had like Like, I think at the bottom of the floor they had like, I don't know how to say this word, sarcophages. It's so weird looking at sarcophages like from like Egypt and like those Arab countries, like. And it's so funny when my director, when I got back from work, she was like, what'd you do? I told her I went to this warehouse filled with stolen artifacts. And like the Louvre is literally just a warehouse filled with stolen artifacts. Yeah, it really is. In Paris, there's a lot of walking. There's a lot of walking. When I tell you I had on Nike Dunks, when I tell you them sneakers tore my feet up. Tore my feet up. I ended up getting some sneakers called Veja sneakers. Get you some Veja sneakers. When I tell you, Veja sneakers are great for walking. When I see like the Instagram pictures of the girls in the heels and they got the where did y'all go with those? Because the walking, some places got cobblestone. Get you some Veja sneakers, okay? So I booked through Airbnb when I was booking for my hotel, which I'm good for booking hotels at the 11th hour. I was booking hotels for Paris. Always read the reviews. Every hotel that was left, they kept talking about there was bed bugs. So obviously, no ma'am, I'm going on vacation to relax. I don't want to have to worry about bed bugs. So then I said, okay, let me see what Airbnb is talking about. So my goal was to get an Airbnb that had like a balcony, that was very Parisian. I wanted the whole Parisian experience. However, Paris is old, okay? Paris is very old. So you're talking about buildings that were built pre-elevator. So these are like 4- and 5-story walk-ups. And you have a suitcase. My suitcase is like a plastic hard case. No ma'am. And it was hot when I went, and so like I said, Paris is old, so this is pre-air conditioning as well. And so when I was booking Airbnb, also be careful. Look at the review. Like I saw this one Airbnb, one time was decorated so cute, so Parisian. It had the balconies, like you could see the Eiffel Tower. I was like, yes, let me book this. Once I read the reviews, and everybody's talking about how it was hot, it was insufferable, they couldn't deal. And so I ended up staying in an Airbnb that was more modern. Like the building was, you could tell it was more built after World War II, more modern. And it was boring. The elevator was like so tiny, like me and just one other person could fit on there. And like my Airbnb was like on this block that was like very quiet. It was like nothing on there. And so the balcony was like facing the courtyard. And so like there was like balcony doors from the living room and balcony doors from the bedroom. And the Airbnb host just asked that I water their plants, and that's what I did. And it was like just a regular apartment building. When I tell you, y'all remember like back in the day, 90s New York City, you lived in the inner city, you had like 6 locks on your door, 5 deadbolt locks on that Airbnb door, and just a regular like doorknob. And 2 of the locks, like it was like the key that you lock yourself in. So each day I would lock myself and I would just leave the key in the door because I'm like, it'll be my luck. I'll take the key out, forget where I put it, and now I'm locked in the Airbnb, okay? And I feel like the Airbnb host, that was really somebody's home. They had like their pictures on the wall. Also, when you go to Paris, Europe period, make sure if you're a person of color like myself and you use washcloths, bring your own washcloths, because they don't use washcloths, or they usually don't have washcloths in the hotel. So I had my own towel and my own washcloths. I went to like Target, picked up me 2 nice fluffy white towels and like 4 to 5 white washcloths, put that in my suitcase. So if you're gonna stay in Airbnb, please have Airbnb etiquette. Like when I went to, oh, my central heat is about to come on, sorry. The pictures looked exactly like the pictures online. It was very clean, it was very pristine. Like their refrigerator even had like their food and stuff in there. And I only put like a bottle of wine in there, and I had like some ice cream, which I ended up leaving like most of my ice cream behind, and like a half a bottle of wine. I made sure that I left people's stuff the way I found it. Don't be going to people's Airbnb and acting a fool, trashing it, leaving it crazy. Do not do that, okay? Don't do that. And so when it was time for me to leave, they didn't leave instructions. I think in the US it's this thing where they got take off the sheets and put it in the washer, and they didn't leave me any instructions. But as a courtesy, I went around to all the trash cans, the ones in the bathroom and the kitchen, and I just tied all the trash bags together and I left it by the door. So when they did come to clean, all they had to do is just take it out, because I didn't know where in the building there was a trash room. Also, they had a washer and dryer in my Airbnb. There was a microwave, there was a stove. They had like this electric stove. Mind you, everything was in French. So I didn't use the stove. I didn't use any of the electronics. And I said, I do not want to mess these people's stuff up. So I'm going to just leave it alone. However, I did feel safe as a woman traveling in France, honestly. But there was really hard to find good food. That's my only the con I have with Paris, France, if you are an American and you want to start a restaurant, go to Paris, France. I can guarantee you that restaurant will be busting, because people from the US will travel and they're gonna need somewhere to eat. All my Caribbean people, get up to Paris, get y'all some restaurants. Oh yeah, also I want to say, when I got to Paris, I did get my hair braided. These are not Paris braids, these are braids I did myself. And on TikTok I learned that if you take the train to a certain train stop and you get off, there will be these men, African men, they will approach you and ask you if you need any services. So it's like an immigrant neighborhood, I would say. It was like nail salons, hair salons, they had restaurants, like places to eat. That's what I should have ate when I was in the neighborhood, okay? When I get off, they describe these men as aggressive African men. They're gonna approach you and they're so scary. When I got off the train, right, I'm walking up the steps and these men come, there are two men. They're like in French, they're talking to me in French, bonjour, bonjour, bienvenue. I go, and so then the man says, he asked me in English, do you speak French? No. Do you speak Italiano? No. What language do you speak? English. So I go, yeah, I would like some box braids. And he's like, okay. So he takes me over to an English speaking braider named Terry, who was very lovely, and he braided my hair for me. Now, personally me, I didn't think these men were aggressive. That's just me. But I am from New Jersey and I work in New York City. The way I feel, what's aggressive to me may not be aggressive to you, okay? That's what I'm gonna say about that. That's why I say it depends on where you are from in the country, depends on whether or not you would enjoy Paris. But for me, that wasn't aggressive. Box braids were like $90. I think he charged me $80, and then I gave the girl $10 for helping. But in the US, those same braids for me would have been $270. You hear me? And even when I went to the Eiffel Tower, there are a lot of African immigrants. Like, they're gonna be trying to sell you some trinkets, okay? And I'm just like, no thank you, no thank you. And it's so funny because these African immigrants, he comes up to me and he's like, $1. And I'm like, $1 is less than €1. Do you want $1 or €1? Because I can give you $1, okay? Just ingrained in our society to view black people as aggressive, immigrants as aggressive, or, you know, less than, or, you know, just all these negative stereotypes. But now, as far as safety as a black woman, when you go to the Eiffel Tower, there are pickpocketers there. I'm from the Northeast, so my head is on a swivel. I know who is up to no good. I know to clutch my purse. For the most part, I was wearing fanny packs and just had them draped across here, or small crossbody bags. I just treated the vacation like I was in New York City. Let me watch my front, my back, my sides, and that's how it is. But if you're from some small little hick town, or Tokyo, Japan, for example, where y'all already in the year 3000, it's the safest place you can be. It might be a little much on your nervous system, you get what I'm saying? But for me, I could tell that, you know, there's the Romani women who they just look obvious. They're just looking for a mark, and I could just tell. So I was like, let me stay away from them. If you are solo traveling, there are a bunch of photographers at the Eiffel Tower who would take your picture. They would charge people different prices. For me, he was like 2 for $15, 2 photos for $15. I was like, sure. Some people, they were telling them 2 for $20, 1 picture for $15. And so he took a bunch of pictures of me and he let me choose 2. I just Cash apped him the $15. Thank God for technology. And he airdropped me the photos that I chose. I want to have memories from every place that I travel, so I'm gonna be taking photos and just printing them out. I did change out like $300 US into 270 euros. However, you can use your credit card basically anywhere in Europe. I used American Express most of the time because I don't think they charge like fees for like the money difference or whatever. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say right now. But for the most part, you could use your money. And when I went to get my hair braided, I didn't realize I could just use Apple Pay or something, or Cash App. So I did change out my money because I thought they would only accept cash, like a lot of hair braiders in the US. If you go to Paris, just think of it, it's New York City 2.0, just a tad cleaner. My tips, if you're solo traveling, you always want to be safe. So just make sure you watch your front, your back, your sides. But for the most part, I will be going back to my Airbnb late at night most of the time. And as I'm walking, I noticed, like, I felt safe. I didn't feel like people were gonna run up on me. It's so funny, I went to this halal spot and there was this man that was ordering in English ahead of me. He was from Taiwan. So then I come up and I'm ordering, and then so the man who was taking our order was like, do you know him? I was like, no. And he was like, so I sit by him, I'm like, hey, I was like, where you from? And he was like, oh, Taiwan. He was here on business. So we started talking and he was really cool or whatever, but like I said, everybody speaks English. English is the default language. So he was just speaking English to order his food, but he was Taiwanese. He was from Taiwan. I said all I needed to say about visiting Paris. So have you been to Paris? If you have, let me know your experience in the comments. Do you plan to go to Paris? Let me know, okay? So if you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you guys for coming to kick it with me today, and I will see you guys in my next YouTube video. Toodles.